Hello, welcome to Community Corner. My name is David DeWitt Taylor. I am your co-host.
Hello, welcome to Community Corner. My name is Mr. Ryan Nicholas Gray. I'm your other co-host, David.
Thank you, Ryan. Our guest today is Roger McCarville, a developer and producer of the PBS show named Disabilities Today. Thank you for being our guest today, Mr. McCarville. Thank you for coming down.
Well, thank you very much, David and Ryan, for inviting me to be part of your Community Corner. I appreciate being here.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Mr. McCarville, please tell us about your family, homes, schools, and your jobs.
Sure. My wife is Doris, and we have 6 children. Been married for 47 years. I have 4 girls and 2 boys, and one of the oldest boy does a television repair business for the NBC, ABC channels. The daughter sells insurance, Margaret. Roger was the guy with the TV. Daniel's a teacher at Brother Rice High School. He teaches Spanish and history. And Maura works for Governor Granholm in Lansing. And then my other daughter, Bridget's with General Motors. She's in their marketing and advertising. And my last daughter, Nancy, is a Nike representative for the state of Michigan, selling the golf clothes for Nike. And we live in Ortonville, Michigan, and have been there for 33 years, and love it up there. And I appreciate being a chance to be here.
Got any parents?
My parents are passed away. We grew up in Livonia, and I have had 10. There were 10 of us in the family.
Ryan?
Thank you, David. Mr. Roger, what was your main job training in the early years of your life?
Well, I ended up going to work as a salesman for the Dixie Cup Company, part of American Can Company. And we sold Dixie Cups, coffee cups, and carry-out cups for your Slurpees. And of course, American Can, we branched out and sold everything just about, from towels and toilet paper to boxes for carry-out. And so we moved from Detroit to Cleveland to Boston to Baltimore to Virginia, selling those products. And finally I thought, well, if I can sell, then I come back to Michigan and be home with my family. So that's what I did in 1973.
Wow.
Can we come with Chuck Berry with you?
Who?
Can we come with you and Chuck Berry too?
Chuck Berry tunes? I don't know.
It's been a joke about going on the road.
Oh, on the road? Yeah.
It's my joke.
Oh,
Kids?
joke, yeah. I don't know Chuck Berry, but I was on the road. I'm an old Elvis guy.
Me too.
David, you have a question for Roger?
Yes, I do, Ryan.
Okay.
Would you please tell us about what happened to you that made you change your career?
Well, I ended up out in an afternoon in a lake, and I fell off the boat and cut off my legs. And the propeller chopped them off. And this one's artificial, and this one they reattached. And I have a couple braces on it, so I can kind of move around. And so I went to rehabilitation, and after going through that, took a couple years, I was retired. And they said, well, you collect Social Security and you can stay home. And I said, excuse me? I said, I lost my legs, not my head. I said, I can still work, I just have to work different. And so I got out and started a company called Handicap Transportation. Back then I could walk fairly good. I still had a lot of ability. And so I started the company, and I would drive people to therapy appointments and to different hospitals and places.
Okay.
And I'd get them there and drive them home, and I couldn't get them in the house. They're all in wheelchairs. So I started a company building ramps and elevators and additions so people could have a quality of life in their home. And then as I got that done, I realized that they got out, they had nothing to do. they're in a wheelchair. So I started another company, Handicap Recreation. I went out and taught people how to bowl, fish, golf, or do anything with a disability. And we did that for quite a number of years. And then after a while, I went into the ambulance company. I owned Oakland Ambulance Company, and I did that for a few years. And then I came down with leukemia. It's a cancerous thing. I had to go in, and there's no cure for what I have. So they said, well, we can try a bone marrow transplant. It might work if you can find somebody to match your blood type. Well, like I said, there were 10 of us in my family. I had one brother matched me, and he matched me, and that was 13 years ago. I got his transplant of his cells, and now I've been getting along with that since that amount of time. And after that, I had to go through another couple of years of rehab. And when I got out, I thought, well, it's still not over. There's a lot of things I can do. And so I used to do Michigan Outdoors TV show to show people with disabilities how to go out and do sports and hunting and fishing and other things in the outdoors. So I did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then I did another TV show called Sportsman Sports Show. I'm a sportsman, you're a sportsman, and I would do all kinds of sports then, camping, traveling, archery, fishing, whatever it'd be. And we did that on the old PASS network, the sports network, for about 5 years. And when I came down with that leukemia, I had to quit. But after I came out of that, I kind of ran into my partner, Jim Saliba from Burke Video, and telling Jim about there's 54 million people with disabilities out there, and except for there's no shows on television weekly talking about the lives and how we live as disabled people. So he and I got together and did a pilot on a show, just kind of like what you fellows are doing, and took the show down to PBS, and it was a little rough sometimes getting them going, but I went back and kept fighting with them that, you know, the country needs something on television about the lives of folks with disabilities, all kinds of disabilities, physical, mental, blindness, deafness, everything. That we all live in this world and we should be doing something. So finally they gave us a chance to put it on, and now it's grown. We're just going into our 9th year of weekly television shows, every week going into the home, talking about how people with disabilities live, our caregivers, and seniors. Of course, seniors, as we get older, all become somewhat disabled, either their heart, their lungs, their knees, their hips, and their eyes, and their ears. So a lot of the technology we come involved with is good for them. So we started that. It's been 9 years now that we've been on every week. We've gone from Detroit, from expanding now from New York to California on PBS stations, all of Canada, Cayman Islands, Iceland, and Greenland. And that's where we are today. So you guys got a good future ahead of you.
Roger, may I tell you something? David and I, we are both disabled.
So I look forward to that too.
That's right. We're both disabled. Mr. Roger, tell us some challenges that you met along the way.
Well, a lot of people said I couldn't do it. We can't do it, and you're not going to be able to do these things. You can't get into business and go on to doing it because you're disabled, and so you have to meet that right up front and tell them, no, you're here to do it, and get out of my way because I'm coming. And that's what you meet it and you go at it. But it takes a lot of help. If I didn't have family and friends to support me, I couldn't have done it. It's just like everybody else. You don't do things alone.
I'll tell you something. You know, my experience. See, I have a mom and dad who love me both very much, and I have Fragile X syndrome, and that is a disability, because like SSI, through the government, and I had nobody helping me along the way until I met CLS, and everybody helped me along the way, becoming this great, very humble gentleman you see before you
I
today.
agree with Ryan. I was in Mork until I realized I've been about 6 years in that program. I'm glad I'm at CLS, but since I'm moved in my new apartment, I took all my own money for Hickory Grove. I spent it all on my staff for my apartment.
Ah, good. What people don't realize it, and I said I didn't do this alone, there's Social Security, vocational rehabilitation, there's agencies out there to help us. So I got involved with the agencies, the Centers for Independent Living. We started one up here in Oakland, Macomb County, 25 years ago. And that's to help people become disabled, become independent. And what we do is try to show people how we can live independently. And so those agencies are all there to help us. We work an awful lot with community mental health and with the vocational rehabilitation people to help get us going and help me out in what I do.
That's cool. Good.
Brian, how did you decide to develop your new career?
Well, it just came on me that I wanted to do something that I had more abilities left than my roommates did. When I was going through the hospital, a lot of them were left with stroke or brain injury, and I got left with all my abilities except the ability to walk, easy. So I could see that that's something that you'd like to try to help people, and one of the things I could do is go out and do something like this and show people how they get out and do it and enjoy life.
Thank you, David. Roger, did you need any get special training or education to create your new career, which led you to a show?
Well, I think you really do. I don't particularly have it. I think my background came from being in sales, and I'm an outgoing person. And for what I do, I just do like you do, the interviewing. So it's not that hard. I don't have to know everything. I just have to know people that know it and then ask them and talk to them. But I would suggest everybody get a degree and get a background in it. My background is in sales and marketing from University of Detroit, not in video, TV, but I have an Irish band. I play music around the city for 30-some years, and that gives me a presence of going on the stage and not being afraid of singing in front of people and stuff like that. So that helped a lot for me to get out and do this thing. And then, as you know, we're just bobbleheads. They sit here and tell us, well, move this way, sit that way, do that. So you just got to get outside yourself and don't be afraid of doing it. So I think that's part of the training, to just go out and do it.
Bobbleheads. Isn't that funny? David, do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
All right.
I want to say this a little differently. Please share with us your path and fears when you first started your own PBS show.
How I got started in it?
Yeah.
Well, I got called one day at my company with transportation from Michigan Outdoors. And they called and asked me if I would come on their show and invite people to come to a meeting to talk about the problems they had in the outdoors, people with disabilities, trying to get out and use the Michigan state parks and fishing and hunting and that. So I went on that show one week, and the next week we had the meeting. We had over 100 people show up at the meeting with disabilities. And everyone from mental to physical to blind to deaf that wanted to know how they can enjoy the outdoors more. Number one, the parks weren't built for accessibility. You couldn't get to a bathroom, you couldn't get to a parking place, you couldn't get down to the beaches and that. So we started that show, went on every week talking about how people can get out and use the outdoors. Well, the Department of Natural Resources kind of came along, realizing that out of the millions of people in Michigan with disabilities, we don't want to enjoy their parks too. So we got involved with them in trying to make the parks accessible. And in 1990, we came out with the American Disability Act that said that they all have to become accessible, and they had to have a transition team put together, the state of Michigan. So I got assigned to working on that transition team with the Department of Natural Resources, and you can see these 17 years later what a difference our Michigan State parks are so fantastically accessible that everybody can use them now.
Ryan?
Thank you, David. Roger, how did you embrace a relationship with PBS?
How did I get with PBS?
Yeah.
That was just going down there and telling them, hey, I got a show. I think because I was on PBS at Michigan Outdoors. When I was doing that, that was a PBS show. So they knew me, and I did a lot of pledge breaks for them, talking about sending money to keep it going and that. So I knew the way around the horn there, and went down and talked to Detroit PBS, and they were very good about it. They said, well, we'll try it, and just like with you fellas, do a pilot show and see how it goes. They put it on, and people responded. They really liked it. It seems like everybody knows somebody with a disability. You know, everybody knows somebody. And yet there's nothing that you can go on and share with people on the television. But we go into that living room every week, and I could talk about whatever your disability might be, what my disability might be, what kind of technology is out there to help us, the new programs that are coming out for you from the state, from the Social Security. So that's kind of what it's all about, that we bring education and that to the living room of people watching. How in the world would somebody with Down syndrome ever have a television show or a radio show, or somebody with some kind of a mental capacity come out here and do something like this? Oh, they can't do that. How could a guy who's an amputee come out here and go swimming and go, skiing, water skiing, and downhill skiing? Well, if you don't show that to them, then they don't know it. They don't see us doing it. Now, when they see us doing this, my God, it opens up the doors for how many other people that might be an amputee or a paraplegic or quadriplegic. It opens that door, and it's kind of the floodgates that are opening and letting American people know that the public know that we're out there and we want to be there. That's why the show is called Disabilities Today, the show on abilities. That's what we focus on.
David?
Please tell us about PBS as a media outlet.
PBS as a media outlet, I find it to be the best because there's no commercials. You turn into PBS and you're going to get the story without getting a lot of commercials or politics involved. And we just tell the story as it comes out. And they're very good about putting us on and expanding all the time. More stations around the country hear about us and pick us up, because everybody has somebody with disabilities in their family, and they want to know what's coming out to help them, what's technologies out there, what kind of laws are out there to help us. American Disability Act opened up a tremendous amount of doors for us. Transportation, we got arrested 3 times in Detroit for not being able to get on a bus. We stopped the street to let them know that they had lifts in the garage, but the mayor wouldn't put them on the bus.
Kwame Patrick. Kwame.
Yeah. So now we have buses. I'm on the advisory board at SMART, the bus company, and all our buses have lifts on them now. There's nowhere I can't go on a SMART bus or a Detroit bus now. So things like that come along, but if you and I don't fight for them, why should anybody else fight for them?
Roger, you know something, Roger? Because David and I were on this committee about voting.
That's right.
And we are fighting for Americans with disabilities who couldn't vote. People couldn't go out and vote at all.
Right.
And so we say, we this committee, we enjoyed it. Haven't we, David?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we just had a program last week at the Department of Natural Resources where we met with them on people with a mental condition being able to go hunting. How can they go out and hunt? You have a guide with them, or what do you do? And so they're just waltzing that around now up in Lansing to try to find a way where somebody that has a mental disability can go out and maybe get ability to go to a...
Everybody can go out and hunt or play golf. I've seen the OPC is a wonderful organization. I love the OPC. I use them all the time.
Who's that?
The OPC. Old Persons Commission, the minibus. I use them all.
Oh, yes, the buses.
Minibus.
Right.
I love them.
Yeah.
So what steps needed to make connections with the media outlets?
How do you get to the media outlets?
Yeah.
Well, I call them, talk to them, and I go to all the organizations. I go to Down syndrome, muscular dystrophy, cerebral palsy, Easter seals, Paralyzed Veterans of America, Centers for Independent Living, and they all have an organization, multiple sclerosis, and let those associations know, here's a show, it's on every week, and to talk about your concerns and support us. Call your PBS station, put our show on, and so we pick them up that way. But we get a lot of support from all the different disabled groups.
Yeah, I've watched your show. I love it. It's awesome.
Thank you, Ryan.
Appreciate it. David?
Ryan, please tell us how you created your show staff.
The staff is very hard to get, you know.
And
No,
why
seriously.
are they hard to get? Why?
Seriously, no, I'm just kidding you. Very easy. You got some great people out there, young kids that go to college and learn the video game and the work. And my partner, Jim Saliba from Burke Video, he hires them. And we just get great staff and people that want to come to work for us. And we could always use more if we ever get any more money. We try to we have to go get sponsors all the time. I have to keep calling. I got General Motors to sponsor me, Paralyzed Veterans of America, Wright and Phillips Company, Marriott Corporation, people like that that would come in and sponsor, and then we go do shows. Like we just got back from China last week, covering the Paralympics, and this is something that is so important for countries to realize that when that country becomes accessible, because they got to get ready for 4,000 athletes to come in wheelchairs. They have to do their transportation, their housing, everything. They become accessible, and it makes the whole world then accessible for people because of these Paralympics. It's just a fantastic.
I've never seen a Paralympics. I've never watched them before in my life. Never have.
Well, you see, the Paralympics are somewhat separate than the Special Olympics. Special Olympics are pretty well a different organization. Paralympics are the paralyzed, amputees, quadriplegics, and the blind, and the little people of America cover that part of it. And we do all the same events that the Olympics do, pretty much most all of them, just like Special Olympics does. But Special Olympics is kind of it's competitive, but not competitive in the same way as the Paralympics.
Okay.
It's kind of, the slogan for Paralympics is, let me compete, but how does that go? You remember it?
Let me compete? Or
It was a great slogan about competing and about being there and winning, but our slogan is, let me compete, but let me win.
That's a good slogan, Roger.
Yeah.
So, did you seek grants to support your program?
Yes, we try to do grants to have people that want us to do a show on certain issues. There's a big problem with people with disabilities and abuse because they have caregivers and they have people that are there to take care of them. And sometimes it turns into an abuse program, and you have to do it. We did a grant with an association to talk about how people understand when they're being abused and what to do about it. So we get grants for programs like that. Also on employment, on doing a show on showing people how to go out and get employed. And then a grant on show on voting, like you guys were doing, getting the disabled population to get out there and get involved in voting.
Yes.
If all the disabled people voted together, we'd run the world.
Run the world, Roger?
Yeah.
I have to kind of agree with you, sir.
Thank you.
Because I think it's important people vote. Right, David?
Okay.
I see, I have a question right
We'll
here.
cover this one word.
I'll ask one then. What's that?
Okay.
What? Yeah, because that one's kind of hard.
And Ryan.
Your staff must make you very proud. Can you tell us what staff does for your programs?
Well, as you know, when you do these things, you just mess up a lot. And
Yeah,
you can
Roger.
stop
we
that
messed
camera.
up a lot of times in our shows,
And
David.
the editor can sit down in the booth and straighten it out, and then the cameraman can make you look good when you're not really up to par. So you can't get along without the staff, and they're very good to me and helping us pull it off.
That's good.
You got to travel all over. You got to carry all that heavy equipment
I know.
when you go on the road, and someone's got to haul it around and
Yeah.
take it. So
And by the way, luckily it's not me and David because luckily it's not us, right, David?
All right,
Equipment around.
well, you got Aaron to
Question.
help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron's a great guy. Aaron's a loving, kind, loving young man.
Yeah.
David?
I'm going to repeat my last question.
My dear?
What do you expect in your staff?
I expect them to help me out when I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, and the questions I forget to ask. Oh, wait, you forgot to ask this, you forgot that. Pay attention to the interview, what I'm doing, and then you stop it and you can get your interview out right. So you get a good interview.
So, you know, I saw you at the conference. You were there. You were talking to a young man. I remember that. I was there. I saw
Right.
that.
Yeah, we cover a lot of conferences that folks with different types of different disabilities.
How did you select how did you select a video company to hire?
Which company?
Yeah. How did you select a video company?
Burke Video?
Yeah.
Well, I met him and talked to him about what our plight was about disabled not being on TV. And he's just a great young man and has a great company
Now,
and
so
can offer to
so-
help me.
So what does the word plight mean?
Hmm?
Yeah, what does the word plight mean? Plight. You said plight.
The what?
What does the word plight mean?
Plight? I didn't get it.
The word you said, my friend, what you just said to him.
Plight.
My
Mr.
plight?
Yeah.
Oh, that, you know, we have a problem that I don't know how to run a TV. I don't know how to do a camera or edit or audio or anything.
know.
And that was my plight. And he said, well, he could help me. And he's got the studio just like here that we could go and do that and put the show together and build a pilot and then put it out in the air.
David, you have a question for Mr. McCarville?
Yes,
Or
I
Roger?
do. Does your company accept donations or hold fundraisers?
No, what we do is we take sponsorship, people that want to sponsor our show and help give us production costs and money, and they have that. And the show is brought to you by General Motors Mobility or Marriott Corporation or the Paralyzed Veterans of America, Easter Seals, and things like that. So that's what we accept.
Tell us about some of your favorite programs.
All the favorite programs are pretty well the technology we run into. We went out to Bill Gates' outfit out in Seattle with Microsoft and what they're doing with the computers for people. And then Boeing Aircraft, we interviewed them and what they're doing for them. And then the IBM, the technology there. So I like the technology part of it because it helps the quality of life.
Roger, we have 1 minute left in our program. So, David, can you ask one question?
Sure. I got a great topic. Do you have any relationship with Michigan Special Olympics?
Yeah, we've done a lot of shows with Special Olympics. And Special Olympics are pretty broad. I visited them in Washington, D.C. at their headquarters, trying to see if they would help sponsor our show, because we're the only one in America going on showing anything weekly on television. And so far, I haven't got sponsorship from them, but we try to cover as much Special Olympics or other things that are happening in the disabled world for people with a mental disability.
Well, Roger, apparently we had to wrap our show up. So, David, you mind if I do the
Well,
closing?
before you do, Ryan, I'd like to
David?
say one thing.
I did.
It takes a very special person to do all you have done. Thank you again, Mr. Roger McCarville. My name is David DeWitt Taylor. Thank you for joining us today. Ryan, please close our show.
Thank you, David. We would like to thank you for your show, how it gives the public hope and inspiration to the respective things that all that you do. And Mr. Ryan Nicholas Gray, thank you for joining us today. Community Kind Remember.
Well, thank Ryan and David. Thank both of you for what you're doing in your show, and I appreciate being invited here.
And remember.
Roger, we're coming down.
I know.
I'm David DeWitt Taylor.
I'm Mr. Ryan Nicholas Gray. You and
Our
yours,
board director,
Aaron
Aaron Catso.